Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will be continuing our discussion of the short talk bulletin veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have 3/4 of our usual crew. Steve's off having fun somewhere again. We have Worshipful Brother Jarrod Dunham, who's a member of Penticton number 147 in Penticton, British Columbia. Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. And I'm Matthew Appel. I'm a member of Mill Creek Lodge number 243 in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And we're continuing we're discussing the article Veiled in Allegory and Illustrated by Symbols, which was a short talk bulletin in November of 1974. But our last discussion, we got pretty far afield, and I'm okay with that. So there you go. We will continue saying that that's what we're talking about. But
That's a good start.
So, David, you said you had a couple of questions that you wish to throw, if you will.
It circles to me always again around, does everything really have meaning? And does it have to have meaning? I think sometimes we want to force our own opinions that those rosettes must have meaning. Everything must have a meaning. And it probably doesn't. It's just a good story. Like we were kind of talking about in the last segment, that it just happened to be a good story and they added on to it to teach a lesson. But what lesson are they really teaching? Maybe that's another question too.
So, well, everything has an explanation, but maybe it doesn't necessarily have a meaning more than that. Everything, you see, I'm going to fight with you on this one because everything does have a meaning. It's just, is it surface or is it deep? Because as we say with the aprons, the rosettes have a meaning. It's just that they're decorative. They just don't have anything deeper than they're just decorative.
Do you think sometimes we want something to have meaning, and so we make up a story around it, even modernized? So we talk about in Mackey, of course. I like Mackey, and he has his landmarks. One of those is that there should be no innovation in masonry, but it really is what he's talking about is that you shouldn't go out and do something that your Grand Lodge doesn't agree on, which is your brethren, is what he's trying to say there. But a lot of us, particularly me, like to kind of quote that as fun, poke just at people that try to make up something. And, hey, there should be no innovation in masonry. Well, yeah, but we want, because we are searching for the light, looking for the light, then we want to always know, what does that symbol mean? Why are we using that? What does that word mean? With
you saying why we said simple, it's interesting that because the specific symbols have meaning to specific groups of people. One of the things I always find interesting is up here in Canada, I'm not sure down in your jurisdiction, but the badge of the deacons is the dove with the olive branch that's carrying the olive branch, which if you are of any religion other than Christianity, that doesn't have the same meaning to you. Whereas I know that I shouldn't say originally, but in the past, that the badge of the deacons was actually Mercury, with his winged sandals and his the staff of Asclepius. Is it the staff of Asclepius? So because he's the messenger of the gods, which is what the deacons are. They're messenger of the office. So the symbols can change, but they also may not have the same meaning if you don't have the same, because we talked about this in the last episode about the backgrounds, and that, something that may be meaningful to, like the maple leaf to me has a different meaning than a maple leaf maybe to you guys, simply because I'm Canadian. And I think he brings it up in this article, which is a bit insensitive, but that's okay.
But he's Canadian.
He's from Ontario.
And there goes the rest of our audience. Good night.
I don't know what happened to our numbers.
I don't think we've insulted Jamaica today. Let's go for that too. the deacon's rods here, the symbols are, it's a square and compass with the senior deacon has a sun and the junior deacon has a crescent moon in it. So
Which is the same symbol on apron. Did that ever change? I mean, I've only been a Mason 14 years, so I have no idea. Now I'm curious. And so here's a great thing I would love to discuss with either tonight or at some point. I can still consider myself a pretty new Mason. I'm learning more as I'm always learning. And so something like this exact example, how would I find out what the symbols used to be? So you made the reference to the Mercury and to the winged messenger.
Right.
How could a Mason or non-Mason or whoever is listening or watching, how could they find out about that?
Well, I mean, I found out about it because I was reading a blog, but and the person writing the blog was because the lodge that he belonged to predated the union of the Ugly Union. So
United Grand Lodge of England.
Yeah. So they still had those badges in their lodge, I guess, museum or whatever you would call wherever you keep all the old lodge stuff. So I don't know where you would go back, because it's not like you can just go back and look at the pictures. But I don't see that's the other thing is how old are your lodges? Look at your, do you have old photos of your lodge officers at installations?
Yeah, but I can't imagine that after the formation of UGLE that would, if it didn't carry over from those previous lodges, and if that's where it maybe has changed, then everything after the UGLE was more or less standardized. I mean, attempted to be some
here in Canada, but you guys don't use the same symbols, all the same symbols as we do.
Not all of them, but a lot. Right?
Do you?
Not those rosettes. We don't use those rosettes.
I know. Well,
Sorry. We use the. Sorry. You were saying on your stewards, it has the dove, or on the deacons? You used to have the deacons.
The deacons. Both deacons, their badge is the dove with the olive branch.
Still.
Well, as of last Wednesday, last time I was in lodge and looking at them. I mean, they may change since then, but.
Interesting. How about your stewards?
No, they don't carry those staffs. They have different badges.
Yeah.
Yeah. The badge of the stewards is the cornucopia.
Yeah. Okay. That's same.
Here's one that I always wondered about, just to get completely off topic. We have the cornucopias also. So there's a senior steward and a junior steward, and they face in opposite directions. No one knows which one's which.
Aren't they like two-sided? So it doesn't just matter which way you turn your staff?
Well, we have aprons also, so the aprons.
Oh, okay. Well,
and jewels that you hang around your neck. And
somewhere along the line, somebody told me that they're supposed to face inward.
Are they supposed to face towards each other?
Yes,
I can see that.
Do your stewards also handle refreshment, or associated with refreshment?
Yes, when we have stewards.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But yes, stewards. The steward's job is to assist the junior warden with refreshment at the festive board.
It's interesting that you have doves and olive leaves, and we have the square and compasses with sun and moon. I wonder why that is.
I chalk it up, and I chalk up a lot of the differences between south of the border and north of the border with your first grand lodges that were formed in the United States predate the merger of the ancients and the moderns in England. So I think I would almost argue that your traditions may actually they're older in a sense, because a lot of our grand lodges, other than like, sort of take their guidance from UGLE, and so I think that might be part of the issue.
I think that's part of it. I also think part of it is that in the wake of the Morgan affair in the 1820s, there was a conference in Baltimore where they tried to standardize a lot of masonry in the States, and out of that came a lot of the ritual that we use, and I think that, whatever, we further diverged from wherever you guys were going at the time. So,
so once again, symbols change.
Yep, and I have to say this just because. So the staff of the Scepulus is the one stick with one snake around it, and is the symbol of medicine, or should be.
Right.
The the Hermes carries the caduceus, I think.
Oh yeah, the catecheus.
And that is
Yeah.
one stick with two snakes and the wings, and is a different symbol.
And they constantly get mixed up because apparently there are ambulances with the catecheus on it instead of the rod of Asclepius.
Yep. Apparently, well, the story I heard, which whether or not it's true, I don't know, is that there was back in the dark times, back in during the when the medical corps were first being formed for the military services in the U.S., there was some doctor or other who said, "No, it's not that one, it's that one." And so it got standardized for the U.S. military as the one with two snakes and the two wings, which is technically not the correct symbol. But like the whatever American Medical Association uses the one stick with one snake. So, and here we go, charging off in an even more tangential direction. Yes.
No, but once again, that's not but that once again, this is the whole. But the whole article was about how we use the use of symbols, how they're used, and how they can be misused because we haven't learned their usage. Does that make it, like,
or people don't pay attention and understand. Another great example, I'm with the Veterans Memorial Committee here in my city, and I don't think anybody in the city watches or listens to our show, so I'm safe broadcasting their dirty transgressions. We made these banners for the sides of the streets. The streets have the banners and the light poles that make it look pretty and all that, and so we made these with the shadow of a soldier saluting, and then our symbol of our committee is the 5-star, the 5-pointed star. It's very traditional military, of course, and the flag and everything like that. And so the city, we offered to make the new banners. They were getting a little bit ratty. They were a little old, and we offered to help them or make them again, whatever. We have some funds. And the city said, "Oh, no, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it." Well, a few weeks later, the banners went up. And I said, "That is not quite the right star. That pentagram is not quite the right star." So I politely called up the office and said, "We use the 5-pointed star, not the 6-pointed star. I think that would be a little bit different. We'd like to change that." And so again, people, it doesn't look much different from a distance. People probably don't notice it. Nobody probably notices the difference, but those that are paying attention, those that are looking for that. So maybe that's another element of symbology, is that those that are looking for it, those that are seeking, when we bring this back into Masonry, those that are seeking light and seeking more information will seek our lodges or seek our buildings, right? Hopefully.
A wise man told me once that it's not about having the light, it's about seeking the light. And just because now I have to explain that, before we started recording the show today, Jarrod said those very words, so I'm gladly going to steal them from him. But I've often wondered, on a more serious note, you only
have to give him credit twice, and it's yours, Matt. It's okay.
I've often wondered about symbols in general, and I get there through Masonry, is that so if I see a 5-pointed star and I think whatever, United States, woohoo, and Jarrod sees a 5-pointed star and thinks whatever, Army General, and Frank sees a 5-pointed star and he thinks Star of Bethlehem, and those three interpretations are, there's nothing wrong with them, right? What the symbol, if the symbol means something to me, what difference does it make what Masonry is telling me it means, or what anyone else thinks it means?
Context. Because that's all it is. It's in Masonry, a symbol is symbolic in the context of how we use it. But even then, as you said, that symbol, before you even go to a lodge, most of these symbols will be known to us anyway, and so we bring into our ritual our background in the way we use these symbols. And so I think that's sometimes why people, when they join a lodge, they really want to dig deep and find a much deeper meaning, because sometimes the explanation for the symbol matches what they already know, maybe. And then they're like, no, that can't be right. It's supposed to be much deeper than that. So
do you think that's why some guys are disappointed when they come in? They think that there's going to be some way more deeper meaning, and then there's not, even though maybe now with the 6 steps and other ideas that we've tried to help them transition through that, to have some expectation of what they're about to receive. But then they get in there and if a guy, we have a guy that's already read Morals and Dogma.
Poor man.
And so, or at least he says he has, at least a sufficient amount of it to know some information. And so he gets through his degrees and it's like, oh, that's it?
Well, I think the problem is that I think a lot of people join Freemasonry assuming a mind-blowing moment, and that oh my God, the scales have been lifted from their eyes, and it doesn't happen that way. I mean, we always, whenever I talk to people, I always mention the fact that it's a lifelong commitment. So why would you assume that after 3 degrees you're going to know everything and be enlightened, if we've got guys that have been in lodge 60, 70 years? So, and yeah, I think sometimes part of the problem also is the fact that there is a little too much information freely available to people, and they're not willing to wait and go through the experience before they try and get the explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. However, I think that I suppose somebody could set their sights too high, but also are they maybe not really open to what's just happening around them and just feeling the experience? And also, I would say it's dependent on how good of a presentation the lodge delivers too, right? If the lodge is doing, unfortunately, a poor job, now the candidate may or may not know that, but it's likely that if a guy is looking for a life-changing experience and the lodge performs poorly, that's going to reflect on his experience. So for all you lodges out there,
I would argue that the candidate knows when it's been a poor experience.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true.
That, you sort of, you get that feeling that something isn't quite right with what's going on.
Speaking of experience too, what I've found, I think I talked about this before in other shows, that as part of the learning process, memorization specifically, as I go through a ritual and I discover a word that I think I know what it means, but I'm not 100% sure, I will then look it up and learn that meaning and then replace the meaning with that word as I'm reading the ritual or performing the ritual. So in my mind, I may be saying a word, but I'll be saying in my mind, I'll be hearing the meaning in my word. And it really opens up the idea of the ritual to me and what it's meant for. And so I guess being that letters and characters and other things are symbols, right? Those symbols form a word, which then, as you mentioned, has a deeper meaning. And so I think that also helps that our ritual does have more to it because they are words, not just because they're supposed to be something else. I mean, Webb and Anderson and other people didn't necessarily write certain words with the understanding that they had a deeper meaning, but words have a deeper meaning.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you can't, I mean, that's the allegory, is that, when we're presenting these things, is that, the story that we are presenting in these degrees has the surface meaning, but there is the deeper meaning that when you sit and ponder on what's just happened to you, or when you're doing your catechism afterwards, or when you're finally going through the line and presenting the ritual to a new candidate, you get another layer of that meaning out of it.
Oh, Matt was going to say something and he froze. Just a little.
Well, I was going to say I'm done talking to you people is what I was going to say.
Well, I was before, if you have a comment, Matt, but I don't know if I told you before or not. I had in my career as a Mason, 14 years of Mason, I had been a senior deacon before, but I'd never been the senior deacon in a first degree, and actually brought the candidate through. And I'll tell you, and of course, there's lots of emotions in I'm nervous, of course, and all that stuff. And as I got through to a significant portion, I'm standing before the guys in the West, and I'm presenting this candidate to this guy. And I thought, just this flood of emotions came over me. I am in control in conducting this man through this experience the first time. He'll never have another first time. And I almost started crying. I could feel my eyes welling up, and I thought, whoa, this is incredible. What an incredible moment. I felt so fortunate to be able to be part of that, to do that.
And that's part of the deeper meaning of the ritual, is that because you've obviously sat through the first degree, edit apprentice degree numerous times, and so to have that emotional reaction that time means that a new layer of that degree has been revealed to you. And now you'll approach the degree with a totally different mindset than you did before. And I think that went more than anything else is when we use the term veiled in allegory. The veil is very, it doesn't just get removed when you go through the degrees. That, and there is so much. I almost feel like I need to be channeling my inner Shrek with, degrees have layers, onions have layers.
Don't nobody not like parfaits. And on that note, unless you guys have somewhere to go after a Shrek and Donkey reference, we have truly achieved the pinnacle of Masonic erudite discussion here. But on that note, no, seriously, that I agree with everything you guys just said there. The allegory is important. The symbols are important. Go forth and study them. Yea, verily. And with that, on behalf of David and Jarrod and myself, I want to thank you all for listening, and hope to talk to you all again soon. Actually, before I forget, please, if you have your favorite symbols or something you want to discuss about symbols, or the allegory, or this article, or something else we've yammered on about because we went pretty far afield tonight, please do feel free to comment on social media, or on Facebook, or on YouTube, or on any of those good things, and we'll pick up on it. We love to have little conversations with people who are listening to the show, and we look forward to having them. So with that, thank you all for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Good night.